Okay, let's see if we can get this started. This is my second live stream, so I have to apologize to everybody that I'm still rusty and learning things as we go here. So I have to set it up. So let's see. I'm switching to the map view here. So today's welcome everyone. I don't have anyone coming so far, but I know that some people watch this afterwards, so I have to say welcome to you all, even if you're not watching this live. And the goal would, I first present myself a little bit. I'm Anna B. Meyer, and let's see if I can do this. I'm Anna B. Meyer, and I'm doing fantasy maps, and today we're going to do some mapping Earth for a bit. So let's go back to the mapping question here. I'm going to put organized all my windows and stuff. So yep. So I've done a model of the of Earth, the planet that the world of Greyhawk is set on, and I'm going to see if we can. I'm going to update the ice cover and to do the textures, and then make sure that we get a model that is up to date, so we can use that for the Flanese map update later this year. So that's the goal this year. So let's see here. Okay, Pete Bog, that's awesome. Thank you. Yep. Thank you. Welcome. So yep. So I have the Photoshop up with the map. So let's see if I can. We're going to update the ice cover on this one first. And grab my Wacom here. So okay. So since in the after I did the texture, so this is the texture I've done so far. But the thing is that after that I actually did why can I find it? The not ocean depth, the ice maps here, and that means that the ice cover doesn't really match, so I need to update the ice cover, and then I need to adjust some of the textures too. So let's start with the land ice. That is the land cover. That is the, I need to open up here. So it's these areas here, the blue areas. So I'm going to steal that, that area of, now we need to, yeah, I need to tweak a little bit. So we take that mask, and then I turn off the ice layer here. And then we go into texturing, and I'm going to make a new version of the text. Duplicate this layer, just in case. And then we have, okay, I've already been working on this a little bit here, so I'm going to delete this layer mask, and then I'm going to, there we go. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this. I'm going to reselect the layer mask, then delete this layer mask. Okay. There we have something that might work. So now it's time to zoom in and see what's this, if this actually look the way it's supposed to. There's some lines around here that are the edges. So let's go in here. I need to turn off the texture. Okay. Yeah, that kind of matches. So that is the Now I need to, that's summer north. Because when I do this, I have to have a version where you have the summer in the north and winter in the south and vice versa. So that will be a little bit extra tricky here. So now I just need to check where these lines come from here. That's it's the mask thingy that I just need to. There we go. There we go. So now I need to paint this in. Just need to get rid of that. There is it. The mask is like 1 pixel difference. But I want a little bit of an edge here, so because this is a lake, so I just don't want the thing to be all white. I want it to have a little bit of an edge around there, so yeah. Uh-oh, we get an echo. Okay, hang on a second here. That might very well be because I need to... Okay, now I hope you don't get an echo. I hope it's kind of... I hope that's better. Okay, so yep, those the lines here, they are okay. So hang on a second. I turn off desktop audio now. Hopefully, it's we turn off that and just have mic. Okay, so the lines here are the center line here is the equator. And the white line here is the northern polar circle, and then you have the southern polar circle. Okay, thank you, good. My sound going back in. Okay, let's see here what we have. Okay, good. Thank you, David. Yep. Yeah, so we have the equator, that's the red line here, and then we have the northern and the southern tropic, and then we have the northern and the southern polar circles. And remember that planet Earth has 30-degree tilt, not 23 degrees that our real Earth has. So that means that the polar circles are further south and the tropics are further north and south. So the polar circles are further away from the poles. So the temperate zone in between here is squished. It's not that much temperate. It's much less temperate than it is in the on the regular planet Earth. Yeah, I was trying to see if I could put Discord sound in, but apparently I kind of messed up this audio settings in here, so that might not work. We'll see. That might not work. Yes, I got it. It's actually in the box 83 box set. So hang on a second here. Source maps. So it's on the map that is in the 83 box set. This map is in the 83 box set. So here you have the equator down here, and then you have the polar circle up here. So that is the source we have for the latitudes of Earth. So let me put that away and dig back into Photoshop again here. So here we have, now we're going to see if this matches the summer extent of the polar ice. So if I remove the texturing here, and we have polar winter. So that's where the summer is. So if we take this, yeah, Yeah, that matches fairly well. Yep, there we got it. We got the first bit done. Yes, yeah, they mentioned I think both Rossies and Greyhawk, but it's those numbers are a little bit iffy because the problem since they mentioned both I think both Greyhawk and Rossies or Roxies. The problem is if you use those two, then the Greyhawk map, the Darlene map, will look very weird. So I had to tweak him a little bit. So I forgot now exactly the numbers. I think Roxy's is about 30 degrees north and Greyhawk is like they're roughly the same. So it's like a couple of degrees difference. But it's a little bit iffy because the this map here that is basically the Darlene map, we don't know what kind of projection it has, if it has any projection. So that's the tricky bit. So we can see here, we can see the city of Greyhawk is at 36, 37, and Rossi's is probably about 32, 33. And that is the problem is that where they mentioned it doesn't really work well, I think. But it might be that someone invented it. I forgot where I saw the numbers for it. They're kind of written, kind of convoluted in some text somewhere. Okay, so that was the I'm going to have northern summer. Hang on a second here. Come, there we go. When you have lots of layers like this, it's important that you name the layers, otherwise you would never remember where they are. We can't find them. And that one is then southern winter. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm sure that they had a lot of stuff. And you also have to realize if they only had like medieval tools and maybe some magic, it might not have been easy for them to actually establish where they were. And in my campaign, I don't have compasses. Earth doesn't have a magnetic field and stuff, so you don't get magnetism to work the same way. So you don't get compasses. You have to use magical means, so you have to measure it some other way. Okay. I can't spell here, so there we go. Okay, so we have southern winter. So now we need to go back here again. Hang on a second. I'm not really... I think we should... winter, summer north. There we go. We should probably... That's the one I'm looking for. Yeah, it matches fairly well, so I'm going to live with that. Yeah, in my campaign, I don't want to. I want to get kind of lose a little bit of the modernity of stuff like that. So they have to use spells and stuff instead. Because the Earth is not made up of the same as a real planet. It's just the material, the elemental material is full of earth and fire and some water and some air even. So it works differently that way. let's see here. Winter South. That is the one I'm looking for, I think. There we go. Okay, now I need to, and here is the tricky bit. When you work with masks like this, I need to reduce it even more. So that is the overall map. Now I need to do some tricky painting here. So first I need a brush that is fairly large, and I have 100% cover, and then I just need to, there we go, to add the mask in here too. So, and now I need to go in here and see that one. Now I need the coastline here, the texture. And then I'll need to go in here and use the black and make sure I'm on the right layer, and then just cut away these bits here. So here is that's the idea with masks, is that you can easily use the previous mask that you have. That way you can get matching results. So here I have the winter. So now I have a northern summer and a southern winter when it comes to ice. But this edge here is way too, it doesn't look, I want it like this. I want it cracked up, and this is just too, it looks too precise. I want it to be more realistic. So now I need to create a cool little brush to deal with that. So what I need to do is I need to have some texture in this too. Depth. There we go. And some brightness. Or maybe that will work. We'll test that one, and then make it the brush smaller, and then have black. And just to be sure, because this is kind of tricky, so I'm making a duplicate. So I'm saving the duplicate just in case I screw up. Hello, Carlos, welcome. I'm working on Earth, on the planet today, so it's planetary maps tonight. So I'm working on the ice cover, and that is way too big of a brush. We need to be way more precise. So the goal with this little exercise here is to get rid of these kind of very precise. They should be broken up like this. So there's like an edge here. So that's not good enough. I need to have more detail in here. That is better, I think. Yeah, that's better. There we go. So then I have a little brush here, so I can simply take little pieces out of the cover here. And I will need to do this twice, so to speak. So I need to just take and go over the edges here just a little bit, so we take some tiny pieces here and there. Otherwise we get this monolithic ice, and it doesn't look realistic at all. So we need to have a little bit of it. I can see this brush is not perfect, but it's good enough for the first batch here, and then I can have some bigger holes in here. There we go. One of the things that irritates me with Photoshop is that they don't randomize the texture. So if I go back and forth, it will be exactly the same. I would love to have a randomize button here. So you simply you start with a new version every time. So that is something. So what I need to do here is to rescale it, and then I can go in and change things a bit here. So I want to reduce them and then go back and reduce it back and forth. So that's something I'm really missing. I can change the size of the brush a bit here too. Well, this one is going between seasons, so it's kind of fairly regular, I think. But it changed with the changing climate. So, like on the planet Earth right now, when we have a warming climate, that means that the ice will cover less every winter and melt away more every summer, so to speak. But the if you have a stable climate, means that the ice should come back to the roughly almost the same cover the same area every season. So every winter it should be roughly in the same spot, the edge of the ice, and then the same in the next summer. But then when you get a colder climate, the ice advances, and it advanced with the season, but that's a regular back and forth. And then you have the long-term cycles of a climate that actually make it change where it ends up in different summers and different winters. So now I'm going to remove the texture here just a little bit, and then I'm just going to go in and just take away here and there, just a nip. I need to nip it here and there so we get, I think that is so. And now I need to go back in here again and take the texture and then texture up that bit here. So now I think it's, I should remove the texture here a couple of times here. Just do a quick little thing here and then texturize them in. There we go. So yeah, iceberg encounter tables will be kind of cool. We have we have tides and stuff. So icebergs will be kind of cool to have too. I think that will be kind of awesome if someone could do. But I guess you can just make a latitude function and the time of year, and well, it should be. You probably have to make a heat map taking the time of year, the what latitude and what place, and then put in the ocean currents too. Mm-hmm. Yep. Then you put it in there, so to speak, and you can be it can be kind of fun. You can have a location that appears on a big ice shelf that is kind of moving at sea, so you have to hunt it down. Well, ocean current details. Hang on a second here. I have the ocean currents here. We just need to go back here. So here's the ocean currents. So I can, yeah, so we have the ocean currents here, and we can actually take away the ice map. So we just look at the basic here. So here we have ocean currents. So the red currents, red arrows are relatively warm water, and these kind of, I don't know what that blue-green color, that is, they are neutral in, so to speak. They don't bring either heat or cold. And the blue here are cold ocean currents. So these are the same temperature. And the blue ones are colder water and relatively colder and hotter. So that the red currents, the warm current, they bring in humidity and heat to an area, and the cold one brings in cold and dry. And I also have winds. These are the predominant winds, and this follow the global pattern that planets have, so to speak. They have different, depending on the rotation speed and the the type of atmosphere and stuff. You have as many of these rings you get, so to speak. Yes, I can bring up the ice map and the currents. So you have the that was the winds, and here we have the currents. I'm snacking a little bit here. I'm sorry. Yep, the icebergs that come here, so to speak, they will flow here and then come up that way. And so basically, what most of the ocean currents form these big, what they call gyres, that are big circles in the ocean. So you have one here, you have one here, and they're like cogwheels, so to speak. You have a giant one here that the water goes around that way, and then you have a smaller one here, etc., and one here and one there. So ocean water usually goes around in circles, and that's both due to geography and due to the rotation of the planet, and also that you have warm areas and cold areas. So the difference in water temperature creates these. And I had good help from oceanic experts when we kind of started to develop these. Now we just need to check that the land ice cover on the mountains and stuff, that actually is good too. Yeah, yeah, it seems like we got it. Okay, so here we have, so I deselect this. Yeah, Hadley cells is air, but this works basically the same in water. It's just that it's usually much bigger in water because it's denser, so you can, it's less chaotic. I think air is more chaotic than water. Okay, so here I think we have the um, the new map with, this is summer in the north and winter in the south. But then we need to have kind of need to be snow and snow cover and stuff down here too. So now we need to take a look at the climate zones here. Oops, that was not those. I wanted to have this climate, and then we remove the ice caps. So here we go. And we can skip the currents here too. Yeah, in the common, yeah, icebergs will not form. Let's go back to the texture here. And this is summer. So in the winter time, icebergs form, they form in the spring when this no when the ice cover melts away, and they break off. So during spring and summer. So but the icebergs would definitely be common. Let's go with the currents here. So we you have an ocean current here. So icebergs will definitely come down the coast of the Thelonian Peninsula. So the ice barbarians here, they will definitely have icebergs in spring and summer coming this way and floating out into the Solnor here. So that can be tricky navigation. And let's look at the, and here you have the other way around. So here icebergs will come over here that way, and here you will have icebergs along this coastline here in the summer. So yeah. Let's see here. I'm going to make sure I have all the other windows open. Okay, so let's make sure I got the here we have this one. So this one, now we just need to add some okay, let's see here what we got. Now I need to make sure, because I've worked on this so many times here, so let's see what this looks like. I need to get rid of the climate here. Okay, here we go. Because now I'm interested to see, I'm going to take off currents here. Now I want to see if the ocean depth matches these ocean, the shelves, the continental shelves. So if we put in here and put texturing here, yeah, it seems like that part here, this part here matches. Yeah, and Hipmona land matches. And this part here kind of matches. Yeah, I think it's good enough. Down here we can't see, so that's good. But if we remove the there is not exactly right there, so we need to this one is actually looks a bit better, but let's see here. I'm just curious. Okay, there we go. Okay, that was the one that we have here. So that is the latest one. So I should skip that one. And now we should just remove this and then copy that one. Hi Brian, welcome. Yep, I'm sitting here working on Earth. Oh, I'm so glad that it improved your game. That's the goal for the maps, not only to be pretty pictures, but they should be useful in the game. That's the main, inspire and be useful. That's the goal. Okay, I'm going to put away my little snack here. Okay, so now I have now I have to figure out, that's one of the problems when you work with this and then you don't work with it for a month, then you forget about what order you have all the layers and stuff. So I have the texture layer is here, that's the texture layer, and we have the, so this is the one that the ocean depth actually works. So here we have the continental, there we have the continental shelf copy, and then we have some, that's the adjustment layer for the there are some areas here that needs to be tweaked, so I can definitely go in and tweak them a bit. So that area, now we need a brush here to tweak it a bit here. So now we need to, we can skip the texture, but we need scattering, and we need not full hardness, just a little bit of hardness here. And shape dynamics, need to have quite a bit of that. Okay, now I need to make it a little bit bigger brush. There we go. And then go in and test it. And I have some, well, maybe too much. Oops, yeah, way too big here. Come on here. Way too much scattering. There we go. Yeah, now I think the size is good. Now we just need to put down the effect here a bit. It's still too tough. There we go. Now we're starting to get somewhere. Undo brush. There we go. One more undo. There we go. Yeah, that might work. Now I just need to have a little bit of a little bit more scatter here. Bring down the size. There we go. Yep. So I'm taking away, because there's some parts here I can hide the latitude lines. I don't need them. So there's some here that are too harsh. I don't want these lines to look too. The continental shelf should not be so precise. There should just be not a clear-cut edge, so to speak. I want them to look natural, because this map is for inspiration and not for precision. So here we can just take it down just a notch here and there. So just, there we go. So just yeah, and the layers here are it's out of convenience. I could actually work with this in many different files, but to make sure that I get the same result on all the maps I'm matching, I actually work with a lot of different layers. And let's go over them so you can see how this file is structured. So I'm going to, first they're grouped into a bunch of different groups. So we have at the bottom here, we have the elevation coloring. No, I don't have a tectonic layer yet, but that's something that I'm thinking about. But I wanted to have the continental model done first, and then go in and do the tectonic, because it depends on if you want to have a planet that works like a real planet with continents and an interior mantle and all that, like Earth has. Then you need to do tectonics the proper real scientific geographical way of doing it. Or you can have like a fantasy version of tectonics, where you have a planet that is made up of the elements of earth, water, air, and fire, and that you can have a elemental tectonics. That's what I plan to do, and that way it gives you leeway that you can play with tectonics in a different way a little bit. But it still need to be consistent from its own perspective, so to speak. D&D physics need to be consistent with itself. It doesn't need to be consistent with the real world, but with itself. So here I have the number of groups, so to speak. So at the top here I have the latitude lines. They're just lines here, and I only have a few of them visible, but I have all the lines here in case I need them, so to speak, and I label them. But I only have the polar circles, the 30° north, 30° south, the tropics, and the other polar circle visible. And then I can turn them on and off, the whole group here. And then the other one, I have the texturing here. So that's the final texture group. So that's so when I texture it, so to speak. Then I have a wind layer with wind arrows, and I have the current layer of ocean currents. And then I have the rain shadow. That's something that I just worked with when I was doing, it's one of these signal color layer that I wanted for my climates. So it's basically a leftover. And then I have the climate zones map. So you have the polar, the temperate, and the tropics, and then temperate, and then polar again. And again, this is different from Earth, because Earth, or Oith, depending on you say it, has 30° actual tilt. So that means that the temperate zones are cramped. The polars and the tropics are bigger on Earth than it is on our planet, because there's 7° difference in tilt. So that's the climate zones folder, and then we have the ice maps. So here are all the layers that are for the ice maps, and here you have, now we have polar winter in the south, and then we can turn that group on and just have the other group under here. Then we have polar winter in the north, and then I can go into ice maps, and then we have the climate maps, and in climate maps I have all the different climates and their masks on each of them, and I also have a mask of the group, so when you paint you don't have to worry about painting over the oceans, so you actually have all the coastlines here too. And one of the functions I miss in Photoshop is that I would love if these masks could be linked. That is something I would love to have, so you can paint like one mask and then you can link the same mask, so when you update it, it will update automatically. That's one I'm missing in Photoshop. So here's the climate map, and then I have a height map. So that is the no, it's 30 degrees. On Earth, our real world is 23 degrees, and Earth is 30 degrees, so it's 7 degrees more. Yep. So that means that the temperate areas are squished. Both the polars reach furthest north and furthest south, so the temperate zones are the ones that get squished. And I think that was by design. I think that Gary and the others who came up with this probably wanted a planet with more extremes. That's why they increased the actual tilt a bit. So here's the height map. So if you want to do a globe, you can actually have all the mountains actually sticking up, so it's a grayscale thing. And the same thing here, I have the different elevations in gray color and the masks here. So those masks are just stolen from this elevation map. That this was the first I did just to tweak things out, and then the other ones are based on it, so to speak. So that's all the layers here. So yeah. Oh yeah, the rain shadows are interesting here. So the rain shadows here are, then you have to put into consideration the winds here. So depending on which direction the wind blows, they create rain shadows on different sides, and that affects the climate, and then affects the climate map, and then it affects the texture map after that. Yep. The autumn and spring, so weather change over season, but the wind patterns, they also change over season, but you have a global average, or like a regional average. So in some areas like here you have predominantly winds blowing from the north and towards the southeast more often than not, so to speak. So the winds vary, but they have a general direction in different areas. So and it depends on the rotational speed and the atmospheric composition and stuff like that. So, and the size of the planet. Okay, so that was the different groups here. So now I'm going to turn off the winds, and then we're going to turn on the texture here again, and then continue a little bit with the continental shelves here again. Start working a little bit on them. Yeah, rain shadows is, yeah, that there's rain shadows are really cool, because that means that you can have jungle on one side of a mountain and desert on the other. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller here and just dab at the, probably make it even smaller here. There we go. Oops, I'm working on the wrong. I hate that when that happens. That's another one of the. That is enough. That's another one of the horrible, stupid things in. I'm going to put a lock it. That happens in Photoshop. All of a sudden it switches layers fairly easy. There we go. Perfect. Yep. So now I'm just going to take away some of these kind of really hard edges here, because I don't like hard edges. And I want things to be a little bit more fluid here. So I'm just gonna work along the sides, and the trick with this is to find the right brush. And a lot of artists that work in Photoshop, they have elaborate presets and so on. I have a few, I develop a few, but I've probably made hundreds. But a lot of these brushes I just create as needed because texture work is fairly simple. It's just, you just have to to tweak a little bit here. Yep. Yep. There's some cool weather data in the glossography, and there is a site. Hang on a second. I can find find the URL for it, because there's a guy who actually made he programmed that into and put it on the website. So let's see here what we have. Oh, where can I find it? Greyhawk weather. There we go. Here is the here is Greyhawk weather on the internet. So that is actually that in. So you can actually dial in the where you are in the world, and you can get a weather forecast for a month or so. It's kind of awesome. I use that in my campaign and generate the weather usually a week or a month ahead, and that way I can plan ahead depending on where the characters are, and I can get them to I know what snowstorms is coming in and stuff like that. It can be really cool for the campaign. Okay, I can work a little bit here on the it depends. A tool, I think it needs to be probably three. It start to affect it. It depends on what type of weather. A few thousand feet is enough to take some of the weather away. For instance, we have the coastal mountains here in Southern California. They are probably about 3,000 feet tall, and they take away a lot of that ocean humidity. So they only need to be maybe 1,000 feet or so in order for them to start having an effect. So then they take away some of the ocean fog, the morning fog, that night humidity that builds up. That is enough with like 1,000 feet or so, and even a few 100 feet takes that away. And if the mountains are taller than 10,000 feet, they take out almost all the weather. And the tallest mountains like the Andes, the Alps, the Himalayas, and really tall mountains that are like 25,000 feet or more, they take away almost all the weather. There's hardly any weather whatsoever. That's why the Tibetan High Plateau is one of the driest deserts on the planet. There hardly rains there, because if the rain shadow behind something like the Tibetan mountains or Himalayas are that's bone dry on the other side. Yep. So yeah, that site is really cool. You can generate the weather report for your campaign, so you can have a forecast and then sprinkle in some other stuff. So I'm just gonna work my way around here so we can get the the kind of dial down, make these. I can probably put a little bit more. 40%, is that too much? Oh, that's probably enough. Yeah, that's probably good. Maybe that's a little bit too much. 34%. Yep. Oh, you're welcome. That's the part of the fun here, to work on stuff like this, to share. And also a lot of this stuff that I'm talking about is something that I deliver. It comes in blog posts to my patrons first, and then it appears on my website some months afterwards, so to speak. So the Principality of Ulek, yeah, the southern Lort Mills, I take it as they are like the Appalachians, or something like that. Maybe 8,000 feet, something like that. I think that the Lort Mills are kind of a mid to low range, so that the tallest are probably at the northern central part. The tallest peaks in the Lortmids are probably like 10,000 feet or so. That's what I imagine. But the lower southern parts are probably only half of that. So three to 5,000 feet are the tallest peaks. And then so a lot of them are probably only a few thousand, but they are old and craggy and worn down, so they don't have they have a lot of like cracks and openings and stuff like that, so they're kind of difficult to traverse and hard to climb, so to speak. So it's not these kind of they're full of options for adventure and stuff, but I don't see them as that tall. I see them as worn down. A bit like the cairn hills are even more worn down. There you have the Aborals that are the only remnants of real mountains. The other ones are just tiny little hills left over. Fill in that little hole, so there we go. So just touching the edges here just a little bit. So this is normally something I would do watching an audiobook or watching a Netflix or just listening to music or something. So this is a lot of tedious work that goes into stuff like this to touch it up. Go over all the sometimes I don't really need to get this fill this back in, because I don't like it when these they're too predictably, there's like they need to be this way instead. There we go. Oh yeah, I'm working on my Shieldlands, a new Shieldlands map that is 5 feet per pixel. So I worked on that my last live map session. I worked on the Shieldlands map, and that's 5 feet per pixel. So that's a new generation of Greyhawk maps that I'm testing out for. I used my own campaign as a test bed for maps that are super detailed at 5 feet per pixel. That's one project. Okay. Hi Jay, and yep, wonderful. That's good to hear that you get some family time out. That's wonderful. So yep. Yeah, and then we have the I'm working on the update of the Flanies map, and the Atlas will get a new update. So well, let's see if we have any there are I haven't detailed it, meaning we have lots of deep water here. I haven't detailed that depth, so to speak. I thought it would be kind of out of the scope for this. So this, I basically have the ocean, or the ocean, or the continental shelf, and then the rest just deep water. But that's something to detail. I definitely want to dig into ocean depth maps once I have the coastlines and the continents done. Then it's time to dig into the ocean maps. But there are several. We have some people working on that, so there are experts at it. So I'm going to take a look at that and those results soon. So yeah, when they're done, so that way I can going to use that as inspiration or data. So yeah, exactly. The tectonic plates drives the ocean depth more than anything. So yeah, So if you have fantasy tectonics, that opens up for hollow earth things, or all sorts of interesting possibilities. So it depends on what kind of planet you want, so to speak. You can have a hollow planet, or you can have a planet full of fire and molten rock, or it can be just like normal. You have an iron core and a mantle and stuff around it that rotates and create a magic magnetic field and stuff. So you can have, it can work similar or it can be very different depending on what you like. I'm just gonna go in here and touch it up a bit. Yeah, the what ideas come to mind in here dominated by elementals and dragons? Yeah, I thought that would be kind of cool to have things like volcanoes is the first thing that comes to mind. That is an area where by fire have gotten too much influence, so to speak. So then it bursts from the and needs to come out and leak out into the air, so to speak, and the earth, the planet kind of opens up and you get the effect from fire. And equally you can have like the Great Rift, that you can have air that opens up, so you can have like big holes and stuff into the planet, and they, if they're in the water, that means that you simply have enormous deep oceans that reach far into the planet. And you can, so that opens up for interesting kind of gameplay where you can have deep open earth, you can have like caves and stuff like that, really really deep into the planet. So that opens up for a lot of interesting fantasy possibilities. I'm just gonna, I have a little doggy here that wants to go down, so I'm just gonna lift her down here. There we go. Okay, so back to the yeah, hell furnaces is a perfect example of you can have too much, or like fantasy elemental influence. But you can, apart from elemental influence, you can also have influence of things like the abyss and hell and other outer planes. You can have that type of planar influence too, that can kind of screw up even the geography. Yeah. Yep. So there you can have it working both ways. You can have like, if creatures that are elemental in nature, if enough of them move into an area, they might, you might want to have them affect the whole landscape, or divide, or the other way around, that the fire giants will simply go and live where there is volcanic activity and fire in the landscape. So you can have it working both ways, or just one way, or one or the other, so to speak. So that's something you can, as a DM, you should kind of figure out how you want that to be, so to speak. Do fire giants cause volcanic eruptions and other things like that? Okay. Yeah, so I'm going over these, then filling them up a little bit again. That way I soften them up a bit. Because like this is an inspirational map, not something to be perfectly accurate. This needs to be an inspiration for further work in the future. Okay, let's zoom out a bit here and see what I'm doing. Yeah, there is some harsh bits here that needs to be. So, and I feel I'm having a little bit too much. Yeah, Yeah, we've had local, or I would call it regional. We have the twin cataclysms in the Greyhawk, and that only affected a regional part of the planet. So that was this area here that became the Sea of Dust. So this, and while it affected actually both this area here that became the Sea of Dust and also the Baklunish up here. So this area here became devastated, and this area. So that is the biggest I've heard of. Then we have smaller ones like the Bright Desert here became a desert due to kind of a catastrophic magic and divine intervention and stuff. So there have been, but they have been regional rather than, yeah, invoked devastation and the reign of colorless fires. So yeah, so the twin cataclysms. Yep. Hi Patrick, welcome. So yeah, Greyhawk and Earth hasn't had, as far as I know, any global catastrophes. They've been regional catastrophes rather than purely global. But the rest of the planet has not been detailed at all much, and it's just been mentioned. That's it. So yeah, so it's not anywhere near as, meaning the other other campaign settings of D&D have had much more planetary development. So that's what I try to mitigate with this a bit. I try to make more of a planetary model to play and to use. And to be honest, the first goal of this project was just to place the Flannies at the right spot, and I realized in order to do that, I need to develop the rest of the continents, just of the rest of the planet, just at least a little bit. So that's why I kind of just embarked on this. And now I need to finalize it so I can bring in the Flannies map into GIS to start using geographical information systems. So when I do that, then I need more precision, and I need to know where in the world it is. And in order to do that, I want a global map. So I'm just now touching up the continental shelves a little bit here, just making it a little bit of an influence here. So taking away these kind of very Oh, thank you, Brian. Yeah, I like to have it. It should not be a real world analog right away. There should be fantasy and stuff involved in it. I think that's cool. But even the fantasy needs to be consistent and have a logic in itself, so to speak. If the planet has a fantasy geology, it can work in all sorts of mysterious ways, but it should be ways that are consistent with its own. There should be laws of physics and magic and stuff like that have predictable outcomes, or at least unpredictable in a certain way, so to speak. So meaning you can have wild magic and stuff, but even that is predictable to be unpredictable. So I want in my campaign and stuff, I want my D&D physics to make sense, so to speak. I don't want it to be real physics, but I want it to make sense. So when I run games, I can adjudicate outcomes and come up with new cool things. So yeah, that's the interesting thing. Oriental Adventures Karatu. I've heard rumors and ideas and people having the idea that Karatu was supposed to be set in Greyhawk, which is very very possible. And I've seen several of maps that was set, and I think the general idea was to take, here you had Greyhawk, and then simply place Karatur on the other side of the Solnor Ocean, so to speak. So Fireland was mentioned, so maybe somewhere around here, which actually meant that it will be here, so to speak. And then I don't know what they were supposed to do with this, but I think that was before they published the Dragon Annual 1 map. I think, because I think Oriental Adventures came out before then, but that's just from top of my head, so I might be wrong on that. Yeah, physics. Yeah, physics is, well, I'm reasonably okay with my physics and so on. I used to do a lot of flying and be a pilot, so I know I have basic understanding of at least some forms of physics of aeronautics and stuff. So I know a little bit about how physics work and gravity and stuff, but I'm certainly not an oceanographer or stuff. I have friends that are, thankfully, that have studied geology and oceanography and biology and stuff for years, so they know how to. They've taught me things, and I've had conversations about this, especially during COVID. It's perfect because when you have people in academia that sits at home and have no one to talk to, it's perfect to call them about stuff like this. Yeah, I think that parallel. Yeah, Patrick, I think it's good. Physics should work, and magic is a parallel system. But I want my physics to be, meaning magic affects. I see it as magic as being magic is part of physics, which means that magic will actually make even the physics works different. When you have all sorts of stuff, magical things, then I see that the regular. Exactly, it should be internally consistent. So yeah, that is also, I think, a great way to put logical or reasonable limitations on things like teleportation and stuff. Yeah, but that is something that each one that runs, you have to figure out what works for your game. That's the important bit, and for you and your players. We all have different ideas, and we want to run different campaigns. So yeah. Uh, well, the interesting thing is, I think, Brian, I think that they had an evolutionary period that was in somewhat parallel to the Earth, but that is not something that is mentioned in any of the sources, as far as I know. So that's something you have to come up with your own take on that. So yeah. Yeah, Planescape was fantastic. Yep. Planescape was super fun that way, and Planescape opened up my creativity when it came to what the outer planes could be, because I was kind of very limited in my creativity, and Planescape surely helped to make it much better. Yeah, I want to have that there's more things happen in different dimensions, so to speak, because if you have interesting planes of existence and things like shadow, fey, elemental, earthrealness and stuff, that can kind of put in a wrench and make things happen. And when things can actually be divine, that means that, when did the gods come? Did the gods start the whole thing, or in what order did things come, so to speak? That's something you have to kind of work out. Or you can just skip it and just say it's legend and don't worry about it. It depends on how you want to run your games. Okay, I'm starting to see that we're probably done with the ocean or the continental shelf, so I'm going to save here and be done with the continental shelves. Oh yeah, the deities are definitely a part in my games too. Rarely directly, I try to avoid it, but indirectly they are definitely there in many different ways. Okay, so now we have the texture here. So now I'm going to do a little bit of tweaking. Now we need to make it a little bit more. I'm going to take a copy of all of these and then paste that in there, and then we can go in here and see if we have, yeah, we have, are the rivers actually, I'm going to see how strong they could be. That's a bit too much. That's probably good enough. From, it's a global map, this, so The rivers can't be too visible, just a hint at them. Okay, so now I need to take this map into, now we're just going to touch it up a little bit. So we're going to go into filter and camera raw and just touch it up a little bit. And what I'm after here is texture a little bit and a little bit of clarity. Probably something like that. So there we go. Okay. Yeah, they're Dwellers of Forbidden City. Yeah, I think it was in northeastern Hipmona land, roughly around here, I think, up in these mountains. And yeah, they're dinosaurs, I think, in many different places. So especially Isle of Dread is full of dinosaurs. So yeah. Okay, so here we go. So here we have the, now this is texture with Summer North. So now we basically going to do the same thing here, but with, I'm going to take one. Hang on a second, we missed that one. Now I need to turn on Southern Winter. There we go. So here is Northern now, and I missed that one. I realized that yeah, we can delete that one. I forgot. We need to put some snow cover on the I'm going to make it a copy of this one here. Duplicate layer, and then go in here and tweak this one and make it into a winter layer. So I can just go in and filter and take a camera raw filter again, and just take down vibrance, and yeah, I think that's good enough. Okay. Now should probably be a bit more white. We can camera raw filter. There we go. And there, something like that. And we can then tweak the something like this, I think. Highlights, a little bit more shadow, and boost it, something like that. We'll see when that works. Yeah. Now we have the issue with, I need to make it a little bit darker. I can adjust it here. A little bit colder. There we go. Okay. And now I need to do that one, and we need to have a little, there we can keep the scattering here. Just paint in So there we go. Just need to get rid of the beaches here, a pixel or two. I think I have text a little bit too much, and then so here we go. So it freezes over. There we go. Yep. Well, it's hard to remember all these places. I tend to forget about it, and I'll still work with this almost every day. Now we need to have a little bit of that texture in there. There we go. So we put black in there, and then we take away some, so we create that edge there, a natural edge. And then we take the texture away, and then go back in here and oops, wrong color. There we go. So I'm painting on masks here. So I'm painting on the mask, and that means that I use white to show things and black to hide. And the beauty of that is that it's non-destructive. I can just go back and paint on and off without having to worry. But I can just paint black or white and keep doing that until I'm satisfied with it. So that's the beauty of. Now I need to make it smaller here, smaller brush. There we go. Of painting on using masks instead of putting on the layers, is that you can tweak things back and forth until you're happy with it. Let's see here. Yeah, now we have some edges here too that I need to work on. Yeah, I run a campaign in the Shieldlands, but it's set in 598 on the winter towards 599, so it's well after the wars. So IUs have occupied the Shieldlands for almost 20 years now. And the character starts a little village called Aldet that is behind enemy lines. So it's the borderlands inside the Empire of IUs, but it's the borderlands between of the Iusian Empire close to the Shieldlands. So we've run it for a little over 6 months now, I think. We've run, what is it, 16 sessions. The players are second level, so it takes a while in my campaigns. It took like almost 10 sessions to get to first level because we started at 0 level. There we go. And I don't really... Okay, yeah, it's kind of cool. And sometimes I think it will be fun to go back to 576, but we'll see. I've had a consistent history, and I want to have more camera raw filter because these I want the colors to be a bit more bluish. I think be a bit cold, more cold here. There we go. And a bit more clarity and texture. There we go. I think that's better. Yep. And now I'm going to hide that layer. And now we need a much bigger brush. Like, probably even bigger. Something like that. Yep. So, and we have a little doggy that was up on the couch again. There we go. You have to keep your familiar happy with treats and stuff. So then it's time to paint in the winter. And then we probably have to do the same on the northern hemisphere for winter there. So yep. Yeah, Patrick, I agree. I want to have that to fall back on. I think it's also fun to have it. So, but now I'm actually toying with the idea of having the 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 canon to look forward to, so to speak. So actually go back and redo things if I don't like it. What happened to Carl Sargent this during the Sargent era and stuff. But we'll see. No, I think I will just develop it the way that would be that I like, so to speak. And I'm taking more and more liberties with my campaign the longer I played it. In the beginning, I almost slavingly followed all the sources and stuff, and then it's become more and more. I make my own version of it, of things. But I want it to be grounded in the in the lore, so to speak. Okay, here we go. So now I paint in the snow, and again this is, yeah, I took a copy of the whole layer and I tweaked it in Camera Raw filter and then put a mask, hidden it, and then I can just paint it in as needed. And that means that if I don't like it, I can just use black and paint it away again. That way you can tweak it back and forth until you're happy. Now I should probably have latitude lines here, so there we go. So somewhere between, here we go. So we have severe winters here, and then they start to about, there we go. So now we have a southern winter and a northern summer. Not when it comes to aquatic, I have been very restricted. I haven't delved into underwater adventures and aquatic civilizations or stuff at all. And when it comes to my campaign, but political divisions for the surface world, for the Flanese, yes. But the rest of the world, no, not so much. I haven't even touched the rest of the world in my campaign. So this planet model is the first time I actually been outside of the Flanese and Northern Hepmonaland for either my mapping or for my games. And my games are very limited in areas. I've only been to a couple of different regions in the Flanese, but I've been here and there. But it's been one campaign in one area and another campaign in another area. So I definitely have a lot to discover that I haven't gamed in. Let's see, that was the, let's take a hide these lines, and now we can go in here and do a copy of this one. Copy merged. And then I can actually paste that one in there, and now go in and use the filter Camera Raw. And then just tweak the texture a little bit and clarity just a bit like this. Maybe a little bit of, yeah, I think that's, so there we have it. There we have a southern winter, northern summer. So yeah, let's give us see northern summer, south winter. Okay, now we need to go back in and do the opposite here. So now I'm going to duplicate this group, and then I'll simply summer south. Let's see where the other one went. There we go. Okay. So now we're going to remove that one, and that is northern. Hang on a second. Now I realize I forgot. We need to. Damn. Okay. Yeah. You live and learn. Live and learn. Yep. So you can delete that one. And then I realized that I should have that's southern winter and northern summer. There we go. That was the one. That was the one. That was all. So now I need to go in here and make it copy merged copy, and then paste that one up there. Filter camera raw. There we go. Now I'm going to save this one again. Okay. Text north summer, south winter. There we go. Okay, I hope you can see what I'm doing here. I hope so, that it's sharp, because the stream should have same resolution that I'm working with on the screen. It should be sharp. If you can see it, it's 2560 by 1440, I think. So it's a 1440 stream. So if you can look at the stream in 1440, it should work really well. So I'm just gonna take a cough drop here so I can talk properly, or at least a little bit better than normal. Okay, so now we have that's northern summer, southern winter. So yes, I think so. The titles can be significant, especially 4 times a year. When the Luna and Selene actually coincide, so to speak. Otherwise, you will get a more significant tide from Luna that is a 12-hour tide, or every 6 hours. So, and then you will have the Selene tide that is a less of a tide, but it goes every. Well, it will be every 12 hours too, but then it will be like a big tide and then a small tide, and they will shift in, and all of a sudden they might, every 28 days you get a spring tide. That will be, because then they will both combine, and so every 20, I think it's 28 days, you will have a huge tide difference, much bigger than normal. So it will be like 1.5 or something like that, or 1.6 of the normal, or maybe even more. So then you can have a really, really enormous tide. Okay, so that was summer north. So let's go in here and have the other one here. So we have the texturing here. Northern summer. So then we have, that was southern winter copy and northern summer. So now we need to do the, so that's northern summer. So if I disable the mask, oh good, I have enough there. So yep. So we delete that layer mask, and then we go in here on the ice layer, and now I need to turn off the texturing here. There we go. And I need to turn off the rain shadow here too. Hi Samuel. Hi. Thank you. Welcome. Yep. So I'm working on the planetary map today, and I've been working on the textures and stuff. So what we're looking at, I'm actually tweaking the textures to add the so the snow and ice cover is the same as the ice map. Yeah, to some degree, I think that yep. But there again, you have Patrick. It's interesting because you can tweak that according to what type of physics you want to do. If you want to go strict scientific, I guess having two moons will probably be more of a stress to the planet and more volcanism and more tidal effects and stuff like that. But if you can kind of dial it down and say, well, my fantasy geology works a little bit different and stuff. The important thing is that you should make a decision how you want it, so to speak, and then base it on something cool that either real world physics fully or some tweak it some ways that make sense to you and that you like, so to speak, and functions for your games. Okay, so here we go. So now we need to have winter in the north here. So let's see which one. No, that is polar winter south. Hang on a second. Winter north. There we go. That's the one to go. And then we winter in the north. So I'm going to rename that northern winter. No, hang on a second. Cancel. Come on. Winter. There we go. Into that. And now we make it into. And the cool thing with mask is that you can make a selection, and if you have the selection is active when you create the mask, it will automatically apply it. Exactly, the effect magic. Yep, magic is something you can play with and so on, but you should not just have it. A lot of magic seems to work like different in different occasions, just as the story needs some magic to work this way. I don't like that. Magic should follow certain rules. The rules can be fantastical or whatever, but they should still be rules. I think magic should work in a certain way, so to speak. So now I need to tweak the mask the same way we did with the previous one. So I'm just gonna paint in these bits here. Oh, and I need to have full blast in the effect here. So there we go. Just gonna paint in these bits here. So, and now I need to apply that layer mask, and then I'll need to take the coastal areas here. I can probably just take it on there. There we go. And then inverse it, I think, and then apply. Yay, that worked. And now I'm going to be real tricky here and just take this selection again here. Oh, hang on a second. I'm going to. Yeah, probably. Well, I probably need to tweak that manually. I think it's better. Take 3. Oh yes, Brian, that's a good point. With I think nature deities affect world geology. Yes, I think they do to some degree, and the elemental force is the inner. I think that the inner planes is the planet, so to speak, and then but deities can definitely be powerful enough to affect geology. Just think of the twin cataclysms that created the hell furnaces and stuff like that. So definitely that the geology and stuff can be affected by gods. And just look at what we're doing in the real world, meaning we humans, without any, as far as we know, divine intervention, can affect the climate globally, and we are also now the biggest geological force on the planet. We are cutting down mountains, and we're doing all sorts of stuff. So in a fantasy world with divine magic and arcane magic and stuff, I definitely see that you could affect both the geology and the climate and stuff like that. So definitely. Let's see here. So I'm just going to touch up. There are ways to do this tedious work automatically, but I like to do things like this manually because that way I get a more natural result. I don't like to have it like it looks like it's done in Photoshop. I want to have it look more so I can keep an eye on all the tricky bits here. So hang on a second, that I should probably keep that. Yeah, I keep those little bits there, I think. There we go. Yep. So thank you so much for coming in and chatting with me. This is great. This makes this much more fun. Way more fun. Now I can just delete that one to like 80%. There should be a little bit of a remnant of the coastlines. You should see them through the ice just a little bit different here. So they're not completely hidden. Oh yeah, I have my deities work through avatars and through the what I call divine agents, meaning clerics, paladins, uh, warlocks, witches, yeah, stuff like that. So yeah. Yeah, it's the yeah. There is in Greyhawk they seem to have this idea that there is a sort of agreement between the deities to not come and invade the planet and not be there in person, and then you have a few like Ayuz and Cuthbert who either break the agreement or the treaty or they are not bound by it or something. That's the explanation I've read and heard. I don't like that idea because I don't see that the evil and the good ones could sit down around the table and negotiate something and then expect the other part to follow it. So I have it much more. I need to have it functional, so to speak. So how I sold it is that when a god send their avatar down on the prime material plane, that is gives them both an edge and its positives and drawbacks with it. And the positive is that you can do it, meaning deities can't be killed. If you send an avatar and the avatar gets killed, then the deities only risk that it takes a while to form a new avatar, and that means that there is much less risk involved in it. But the problem with sending an avatar is that it requires divine magic, and that means that it can be detected so other gods can see you. So if one god sends its avatar down on the prime material plane, the other gods can instantly or very fairly easy start detecting it and see, oh, now that god is down doing some mischief on the prime material plane again, and they can send their avatars or send their clerics or paladins or monsters or whatever after them. So that is there is like a drawback or that there's both that's the drawback. So there's a positive and a negative with it. and so that means that the most deities will take they will not take that chance lightly, so to speak, to send one. So yeah, and then you have Ayus that has taken up residence on the prime material plane. That means that he has the bonus of acting secretly fairly easy on the prime material plane. The problem is that he can also much more easily be killed on the prime material plane, so it's risky. But there's risk and reward on with everything. So yeah. So I'm just gonna. Yeah, that's interesting. Some DMs differ between deities and then devils and demon lords and stuff. I don't. I see them as the same thing. They are immortal beings of immense power. So demon lords are definitely equal to gods, and some of the most high demon lords and devils, they are on par with the greater gods. Meaning, if you run the abyss, or run parts of the abyss, or you run the show in the nine hells, then definitely you're more powerful than one deity who lives there. So that's how I've done it. Yep, this is so cool because this is something that area when it comes to deities and stuff is something you can each DM should kind of come up with some cool way of interrupting it in kind of come up with his cool way of interpreting the rules and make it in some cool fashion of it, so to speak, that suits the campaign and the type of stories you want to tell. There's many different ways that could be right, so to speak, when it comes to this. There is one little piece there that I need to. We need little clone thingy here, and then I need to do that. So there we go. And we need to clone a little bit here too. Oh, that's the wrong one. So there we go. Okay, so here we go. Now can build this in here. So there we go. Yeah, then we have the God Trap and stuff. That's an interesting chapter in itself that I need to study because I don't know that much about Castle Greyhawk and the God Trap and stuff. So yep, that's what we have, legends and lore and all the legends and lore show, and we have to bring on people that knows way more about that than I do. Yep, yeah, Ayus has it covered, but in my campaign, Ayus and his dad are not really on speaking terms that well, so they don't like each other that much anymore. It's a lot of rivalry. Yeah, those swords is something that I need to, there's a lot of these stories I need to read and study more. I've studied the geography so much that some of these stories and stuff have kind of, since they don't, if they don't have that much geographical impact, they kind of fallen besides me, so to speak. So yeah. Yeah, Yeah, Samuel, that he's I use he's like a petulant child. That is very true. If you read the Gord books, Gary describe him very much like a little child or a teenager or something. So in a lot of ways, he's kind of, yeah. It's kind of fun. Those bits are some of the best parts of the book, of the Gord books. Yeah, I see the abyss as a place where you can just create a chunk, more chunk of it, and basically just expand it. So it's kind of the junk real estate in the outer plains. So here we go. There's a lot of little coastlines here that just need to break up the. There we go. Break it up a little bit here. I could have done this with just blurring the edges, but that will be uniformly blurry, and I don't really want that. I want an effect that is way more gradual and local, so I can kind of tweak it to look more organic. It's all these kind of little messy unpredictability, so to speak. That's the thing that makes something look natural. You have to have variations of variations in multiple levels. That way you create something that looks really natural and cool. That's interesting. I haven't played with time changes and stuff on different planes yet, but I have enough of that when I'm reading and watching science fiction. So, okay, so here we go. Now we're starting to get it in place here. So I'm going to save it here. And now it is time to bring forth that kind of texture and tip size. There we go. And now it's time to make it slightly smaller here and see what we can do here. First I'm going to take before I do that, I'm going to take it take this and do, hang on a second, that didn't work. That's not what I wanted. I wanted this, and no, hang on a second here. I need a hardness that is much harder. Here we go. There we go. Just create a little bit of an uneven edge here, so, and then I can do the other way around here. So there we go. Just create a little bit of an edge here. Hang on a second, this doesn't look like, now I need to, yeah, that actually, is that, now I need to make sure I'm getting it, is that, that's winter north, okay. Winter north, winter south. Okay, yep, I was right. Okay. Yeah, it's fun. That sounds like a lot of cool adventures. need to paint in the then paint over the ugly bits here a little bit. There we go. And now I need to make the small one and put in the texture again, and then go in and just do this to get those pesky little details in here, like that. Break it up a bit. So then we zoom out. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Now we can do the same here. Take this and go in here and just trim the edge a little bit like this. Yeah, I haven't played with Vatun and the Barbarians much. I stayed away from a lot of that so far, but I would love to go up and do more of. I've had a few Barbarians coming south in Marel Devon's campaign. They had a little bit of a touch to it, but not much. Oh, there are some coastlines to tweak that I forgot, so I need to. I'll do that after I do this now when I have the right brushes for it. There we go. I can just touch the edge there. There we go. So I hope this is not too boring to watch this, because it is kind of tedious, but it's a good example of the type of work you have to do when you make maps like this. You have to dig in and start working in and doing tedious stuff. So now we go back and do the fine little tweaking here. Now I can make the brush slightly bigger and then just do a quick go over the edge here like that and break it up. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Samuel. Sam, that's good to hear, because this is tedious work. It's like watching paint dry a bit. And I've been rendering that it's done. Okay, it's actually done. Wonderful. Yeah, I've had a render that worked for 6 hours and it's done, so that's good. Now I can set that up to render something else before I go to bed. After I've done this, go in here and gonna mess this up here a bit too. There we go. Then go over here. We can have a little bit in here. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Try to explain a little bit what I'm doing here. So this is, and often you have to take several steps like this. So you work first. You take the bigger kind of changes in the edge, and then the smaller ones. So it's hard sometimes to do both in one go. You have to often do it several over. That way you didn't get the small tiny bit. So I can add a little bit flakiness there too. And that part there too. So there we go. Now I need to save again here, and then go in and edit the edges here a little bit. We can skip the texture and we can skip the scattering, and then we go in and make a real small brush here, and then go in and fill in the hard edges here, so we get more smooth, filling out these kind of inlets and stuff a little bit more. It blends in better. Like that. There we go. Okay, now I have these left here. So I need to paint over these edges here a bit too. And like I said earlier, don't take them out completely, because I still want the islands to be seen as islands that are slightly separate from the ice, surrounding ice, because the ice is surrounding it, not laying on top of them. They have their own inland ice. I want to have it a little bit different. That I think works rather well. Okay, now we need to figure out, now we have that part there. Southern. Come on here. So there we go. Winter. Okay. So now I need to duplicate this layer and call it Northern Winter. And then we hide that one and we delete that layer mask. And then we make a new one. And now we should, yeah, we should kind of put that one there, and that was a southern. Hang on a second. Now I forgot where I put it. Texture. Okay, hang on a second. Now I lost the. Hang on a second. This is weird. It disappeared. There we go. So where did the name? Okay, now I need to redo here. Now I screwed up. Okay. So there we have. Ah, now I get it. Okay, gotcha. So that is Northern Winter, and then that is Southern Winter. So that means that texturing Summer North. So that means that that one should be down there. So if I turn okay, I have that one ready, so let's skip that one for now. Summer. Okay, there we have Summer North. Okay, now, yeah, now it's right. So there we go. Now it's right. So we have, that's Northern Winter, and there is the Northern Winter. So now I just need to paint in the Northern Winter here. This is getting, yep. Yeah, there's some lakes that needs to freeze over. So yep. So we need to have plenty of. We need to have a bigger brush and a little bit of scattering. We need to have a way bigger brush and not so much hardness. Something like that to begin with. Turn down the opacity a bit like that. And hang on a second. This is, now Okay, if we do this, are we painting? Yeah, that is not right. Um, now I'm. Hang on a second here. We should have the. Ah, gotcha. Now I get. Okay, here. I need to turn that off and disable. Yeah, hang on a second. Come on here. So I disable layer mask. So there we have the winter, and that means that this should go all the way up. There we go. Yep. There we go. Why is that not okay? I need to paint over the ugly bits here. So there we go. Here we go. So we need to create some more ice sheet. There we go. That's what you use you can just paint in pixels. That's something that Photoshop used to be very bad at, but now it can do it really well. So now I put that in there, and now I can go in and use this and actually fill in the blanks here. So there we go. And just fill in the blanks up here. So it freezes over real. That's the ice. Okay. And then we have that bit here that we can paint in a bit here. So yeah. Yeah, paint over the ugly bits. Yeah, I use this further south. So yeah, that's true. But we need to go in here and put in some winter here on the real wintry bits here. There we go. Yeah, ski resorts would work in large part here. Now I should have the latitude lines again here. So and now I need to look at, well, I should probably put in some more. I need to tweak those ice cover a little bit more there, I think. Yeah. And Lake Quag should definitely freeze over, so we should tweak the ice cover of stuff here. So there we go. The Londrian Peninsula is kind of snowed in at winter. Ratik should have its winter too. The Pale and stuff here, so I should something like that. Bone March, yeah. And up here, but we have, there we go, and kind of snow a bit here. So there we go, and they can have a little bit of snow over here too. So there we go. Now I just need to, now I'm going to save here before I screw things up. again. Let's see here. Yeah, now we've done it for 2 hours, but I'm going to work a little bit longer on this. So yeah, yeah, exactly. The black ice turn around. Yep. I hope I didn't make the snow too yellow. I don't think so. But we have. I'm going to. We probably need to have a little bit more. I'm going to add some more ice there so we have some more to play with. So I'm going to go here and then I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, and then we can add some ice so we can make it some icy bits here to play with. And I'm going to ice over that one, and I'm going to ice over there a bit, and then I'm going to fill that one, and I'm also going to ice over here so we have enough capacity to add some. I can play a little bit here with it too. So okay, there we go. And now, so now we have the masks on. Now we need to go in here and tweak things a bit here. Oops, that was not the. Now I need a brush. That means we can probably go back here and. Oh, that didn't do it. So do a smaller brush, a harder brush. Skip the texture for now. So there we go. And I need full blast here, so I can get rid of these. There we go. These artifacts, and then paint in some icebergs and some other ice. So now we can get a brush that is kind of the right, and do this and size. Yeah, it can work. So now we can add some, like this, we can add some extra ice that we can kind of fill in the. Hang on a second, was it, didn't I change that? No. There we go. Okay, I didn't add any there, so I need to add some here. There we go. I should probably do this in the south too, but we'll see. Yeah, now I need to go in there and see, when you come up with these things, there's always more and more things to tweak a bit. So now I need to go in here and paint away these, and I need a smaller brush here. There we go. Actually, I don't need to get rid of everything. Well, almost. Yeah. Okay, now we can take the texture in again, and then we can start adding stuff instead here. There we go. So we can kind of paint in some icebergs here and there. Oh, I need to, forgot that bit here. Yeah, right. Yeah, there's some random icebergs in the Nurdiv. I don't think Nurdiv will have that many icebergs. It's so far south that it will not freeze over much. Yeah, it's too far south for that. So now we can add. Oops, that was not, of course, the wrong. I need to turn on the texture. There we go. I forgot that one too. Hang on a second here. So there we can cut this down to size, and then we need to, okay, I did one wrong there, so we need to do this and get rid of that there. So and then put the texture on. Now we can first cut into it, then we can build a bit here, cut away, build, and cut away, build. So there we go. And then we need to remove the texture bit here, and then go in and just leave a little bit of an, and then add the there we go. Just remove the edges here a bit, because I simply imagine that the Lake Quag will freeze over in the winter. So there we go, and we add texture, and we add a little bit of, oops, that way too big. There we go. So now we can simply cut away a bit here. There we go, and then we can add a few more pack ice there. And then we can build in some ice here too. Same thing goes here with the islands, and here should be kind of a little bit of ice there. So I think that, and then we should add some ice in here too. No, that was the, hang on a second, now I think we didn't, no, we didn't add any there, so I can add a few more here. But I think that one should have ice, so let's go in there and add some ice there. There we go. So, and do this, and this is, you see it now, you see when you do stuff like this, you end up with a lot of, oops, need to fix this, and now I have a little doggy that wants to go down again. Oops, there we go. So okay, now I can remove this, and I can take away scattering and just paint over these ugly bits here. Now to make sure that I'm working on the mask, so that's a good thing. There we go. So, and now I can just make a tiny one and go in here and trim these edges here a bit, so I trim away the coastlines, because I want them to be there, but I don't want them to be that obvious. From here to the rest I did, but not this bit here. There we go. And we add scattering and texture. Make it a little bit bigger. There we go. And now I can just paint in the occasional little iceberg. One trick I think is to do this at 100% scale, because that way you you can see what it looks like in final. Sometimes you kind of you get too I wouldn't say anal, but into things, so you kind of you tend to overstare things a bit. So sometimes it's good to bring it out to the perspective of looking at it at 100% resolution. So I think that will kind of do. I think that we have a coastline here that should be more filled up, I think. And remove the texture, and then we fill up this stuff in here. There we go. And make it much smaller here. There we go. Okay. I think we have our northern winter. Oh, thank you, Samuel. Yep, I think this will do. There's still some I need to tweak the southern bit too, but I think that will be enough for today. It's like been a little bit over, or tonight it will be. It's been a little bit over 2 hours. So thank you everyone who managed to hang out with me for and help me out. This is so good because it helps me stay focused. And I normally work for like 4 hour periods, but then I have music and a lot of other stuff to go around. So this, thank you so much, and I'll be back next week with a new one. But I might tweak and do a different time next week because I've got so many people who told me that they can't make it on Friday nights. So therefore I'll go in and see if I can make it some other. I might do Friday as well, but I might do another time of the week to see it. So thank you everyone, and I wish you all a good night and happy gaming.